A waitress's daughter walks up to a millionaire and says, "Mommy says you're my dad." The cafe goes silent. He left town years ago, never knowing the truth. But the little girl staring up at him has his eyes. As a paternity test confirms the impossible, his world is thrown into chaos. His ruthless business partner sees the child as a threat, and his powerful family demands control. Will he fight for the daughter he never knew, or lose her before he even gets the chance? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. And if you're enjoying these stories, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow's special episode is one you definitely don't want to miss. Eliza Reed's hands moved with practiced efficiency as she balanced 3 plates along her arm, weaving between tables at the Lighthouse Cafe. The morning rush at Harbor Cove's most popular seaside eatery meant keeping a brisk pace, but her attention remained divided. One eye on her customers, the other on her 7-year-old daughter. "More coffee, Mr. Peterson?" Eliza asked, topping off the retired fisherman's mug without waiting for his nod. "Lily, honey, don't get too close to the counter." Lily glanced up from her drawing pad, those striking blue eyes, so unlike Eliza's own hazel ones, sparkling with mischief. "I'm just getting more crayons, Mom." Eliza smiled despite herself. Summer vacation meant bringing Lily to work more often than she'd like. But Nancy, the cafe owner, had always been understanding. The arrangement wasn't perfect, but it worked, like most things in their modest but happy life. "Order up," called Mac from the kitchen window. As Eliza turned to retrieve her next order, the bell above the door chimed. She glanced up automatically, and the world seemed to stop. Ezra Blackwood stood in the doorway, tall and imposing in a tailored charcoal suit that screamed success. His dark hair was shorter now, styled with expensive precision, but those blue eyes, Lily's eyes, remained unchanged. Eliza's hand trembled, coffee sloshing dangerously close to the mug's rim. 8 years. 8 years since she'd seen him. 8 years since that summer of breathless romance, before he'd left to pursue his dreams, never knowing she carried his child. Nancy appeared beside her. "That's him, the hotshot developer buying the old pier property. Word is, they're building some fancy resort." Ezra moved to a corner table, spreading architectural plans before him. He hadn't noticed her yet. "Table 6 needs their check," Nancy prompted, snapping Eliza back to reality. "Right," she whispered, heart hammering against her ribs. Across the cafe, Lily had abandoned her drawings. Her curious gaze followed Ezra, head tilted in that way that meant her clever mind was working overtime. Before Eliza could intervene, Lily slipped from her seat and darted to the back room where Eliza kept her purse and personal belongings. "Lily!" Eliza called, but Mrs. Henderson was waving for her check, and Mr. Collins needed a refill, and everything was happening too fast. When Lily emerged moments later, Eliza's stomach dropped. In her daughter's small hand was the photograph, the one from her keepsake box, showing a younger Eliza and Ezra on the beach, laughing into the camera, his arms wrapped around her waist. "Table 3 needs you," Nancy called. Reluctantly, Eliza turned away to take an order. When she looked back, Lily was gone from her spot and walking with determined steps straight toward Ezra's table. "No, no, no," Eliza whispered, abandoning her notepad and rushing across the cafe. But she was too late. Lily had reached Ezra's table, standing tall despite her small stature. Ezra looked up, confusion crossing his features at the child before him. "Mommy says you're my dad," Lily announced, her voice carrying through the suddenly silent cafe. Ezra's blue eyes, identical to the ones staring expectantly up at him, widened in shock. His gaze moved from Lily to the photograph in her hand, then up to Eliza, who had frozen mid-stride, mortified, as every customer turned to stare. "Eliza?" he whispered, recognition and disbelief washing over his face. The cafe seemed to freeze in time as all eyes darted between Ezra, Eliza, and the little girl standing proudly between them. Eliza's cheeks burned as she finally found her voice. "Lily Reed." She rushed forward, gently taking her daughter's arm. "I need to speak with you. Right now." She guided Lily to the back hallway near the restrooms, kneeling to meet her daughter's eyes. "Honey, I never told you that man was your father. Where did you get that idea?" Lily's expression remained determined. "I found the picture in your special box." She held up the photograph like evidence. "And I heard you talking to Aunt Jenny last month about my dad being some hotel person. Then I saw him today, and his eyes looked just like mine." She pointed to her own bright blue eyes. "I did detective work, like Nancy Drew." Eliza's heart sank. Her clever, observant daughter had pieced together fragments of truth into a conclusion that was possibly correct. "Sweetheart, it's complicated." "Is he really my dad?" Lily's voice wavered between hope and uncertainty. Before Eliza could answer, Nancy appeared. "I'll watch Lily. That gentleman is asking to speak with you." Her eyes conveyed both curiosity and sympathy. Eliza smoothed her apron, feeling like she might be sick. "Stay with Nancy, okay? We'll talk more later." Approaching Ezra's table felt like walking through quicksand. He had gathered his papers, his expression unreadable. "Is there somewhere we can talk privately?" he asked, his voice controlled but tense. Minutes later, they stood on the small deck behind the cafe, the sound of waves providing background to the most awkward conversation of Eliza's life. "Is it true?" Ezra asked without preamble. "I don't know what Lily overheard, but I never told her you were—" "That's not what I'm asking, Eliza." His blue eyes, so like Lily's, fixed on her. "Is she mine?" Eliza wrapped her arms around herself. "I believe so, yes." "You believe so?" His voice rose slightly. "How could you not tell me?" "I tried." The words burst from her. "When I found out I was pregnant, you'd already left town. I called your parents' house, but they said you'd changed your number. I wrote to your university address, but never heard back. I transferred schools that fall," he said quietly. "I know that now. But back then—" She shook her head. "After 3 months of trying, I gave up. I had a baby to prepare for, alone." Ezra ran a hand through his hair. I need time to process this." "Of course you do. It's a shock." "We should do a paternity test," he said finally. "To be certain." Eliza nodded. "That's reasonable. But until then, I'd appreciate discretion. This town talks." "Agreed." He glanced toward the cafe. "She looks like you, except—" "Your eyes," Eliza finished. "Yes, I know." That evening, Eliza sat on their small porch watching Lily arrange seashells in complex patterns. "Is Mr. Ezra going to live with us now?" Lily asked suddenly. Eliza nearly choked. "No, sweetie. It's not that simple." "Why not? If he's my dad—" "We don't know that for sure yet," Eliza said gently. "But you have his picture in your special box." Eliza sighed. "Sometimes grown-ups have complicated feelings, honey." "Do you not like him anymore?" Lily's perception was uncomfortably sharp. "It's not about liking or not liking. We haven't seen each other in a very long time." "Does he like boats?" "I like boats," Lily continued, undeterred. Each innocent question pierced Eliza's heart. How could she explain what she barely understood herself? Miles away, Ezra stood alone on Harbor Cove's main beach, watching waves crash against the shore. The same shore where he and Eliza had spent countless summer nights 8 years ago. A daughter. He might have a daughter. The architectural plans for his waterfront development seemed suddenly insignificant compared to what he might have missed. 7 years of first steps, first words, first everything. All because he'd been so focused on becoming successful, on proving himself. He picked up a smooth stone and skipped it across the water's surface, watching it disappear beneath the waves, like the life he might have had if he'd made different choices. Few days later, after the incident, the email arrived on a Tuesday morning. Ezra stared at his phone, the paternity test results confirming what he'd suspected since the moment he'd looked into Lily's familiar blue eyes. 99.9% probability. He was a father, had been a father for 7 years without knowing it. He called Eliza immediately. "I just got the results," he said when she answered. "Me too." Her voice was quiet. "So now we know. Can we meet? We need to talk about what happens next." That afternoon, they sat at a corner table in the empty cafe after the lunch rush. Ezra couldn't stop the smile that kept breaking across his face. "I have a daughter," he said, the words still new and wonderful on his tongue. "I can't believe I've missed so much of her life already." "She's an amazing kid," Eliza said, a softness in her expression that disappeared when Ezra reached for his briefcase. "I've been thinking about this," he said, pulling out a folder. "I want to set up a trust fund for Lily immediately, and I'd like to pay for her to attend Westbrook Academy. It's the best private school within driving distance." Eliza's eyes widened. "Slow down, Ezra. Lily's perfectly happy at Harbor Cove Elementary. But with my resources, she could have so much more. Piano lessons, horseback riding, summer in Europe." "She's 7, Eliza interrupted. "She needs stability, not sudden luxury. Her life is here, with her friends, her routine." Ezra frowned. "Are you saying you don't want my financial support?" "I'm saying I don't want you to swoop in and change everything overnight." Eliza's voice was firm. "Lily needs to get to know you gradually, not have her entire life upended because you feel guilty about missing years you didn't know about." "I just want to give her everything I can," Ezra said, frustration edging his voice. "What she needs most is consistency and emotional security. Those aren't things you can buy." They fell into tense silence until Ezra's expression softened. "Remember that night we sat on the pier until sunrise, talking about what we wanted in life?" A small smile touched Eliza's lips. "You said you wanted to build things that would last. I guess you've done that." "Not the things that matter most," he said quietly. They negotiated boundaries. Ezra would start with dinner twice a week, gradually increasing his time with Lily. He would support her financially, but major decisions about schooling and activities would be made together. Later that week, during a conference call about the waterfront development, Ezra found himself distracted, sketching a small sailboat in his notebook. Lily had mentioned loving boats during their first dinner together. Her curious questions and logical thinking had reminded him so much of himself at that age. "Mr. Blackwood," his project manager's voice snapped him back to the present. "Your thoughts on the revised timeline?" Ezra glanced at the harbor visible through his hotel window, where a child Lily's age played with a parent near the water's edge. "Let's table this until tomorrow," he said. "I have something more important to attend to right now." Saturday morning arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze off the harbor. Ezra waited outside Eliza's modest apartment, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. He checked his watch for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. The door swung open, and Lily burst out wearing a yellow sundress and carrying a small backpack shaped like a turtle. "Daddy!" she called, the words still new but spoken with complete certainty. Ezra's heart stuttered at the sound. "Hey there," he said, kneeling down to her level. "Ready for our big day?" "I've been ready since forever," Lily declared. "Mommy says I woke her up at 6 o'clock. Eliza appeared in the doorway, looking tired but composed in jeans and a simple t-shirt. "She's been counting down the hours," she said with a small smile. "She has sunscreen on, but she'll need more later. And she should be back by 4 o'clock, Ezra finished. "I remember." Their eyes met briefly before Eliza handed him a slip of paper. "My cell number, just in case." "Got it." He tucked it into his pocket, though he'd already memorized it. Lily tugged at his hand. "Can we get ice cream first? Before lunch?" "Ice cream first?" Ezra glanced at Eliza, who shrugged. "It's your day," she said. "Just don't let her have too much sugar." 20 minutes later, they sat on a bench overlooking the harbor, Lily swinging her legs as she worked methodically through a double scoop of chocolate chip. "Why do boats float?" she asked suddenly. Ezra blinked. "Well, it's about density and displacement. My teacher says it's because they're lighter than the water they push away." "That's right. It's called Archimedes' principle." Lily nodded seriously. "I'm going to design boats someday, ones that can go really fast but don't hurt the fish." "That's actually a great idea," Ezra said, surprised. "I used to design things when I was your age too." "What did you make?" "I built a treehouse that had 3 different rooms. My dad helped, but I drew all the plans." Lily's eyes widened. "Could we build a treehouse?" "Maybe someday," Ezra said, feeling a rush of possibilities open before him. They spent the afternoon exploring the harbor, collecting shells, and watching sailboats. Lily asked dozens of questions about the buildings he designed, why the sky was blue, if he knew how to swim underwater with his eyes open. Ezra found himself laughing more than he had in years. When he brought her home, Lily raced inside to show Eliza the special shell they'd found. "She had a good time," Eliza said, standing with Ezra on the porch. "She's incredible," Ezra replied. "So smart and curious about everything. She reminds me of you," Eliza finished. "I've always thought that." Something warm and unfamiliar expanded in Ezra's chest. "Thank you for today, for letting me be part of her life." Eliza's smile was genuine. She deserves to know her father. Monday morning found Ezra distracted during a crucial investor meeting about the Harbor Cove development. He kept checking his phone, smiling at the photo Lily had insisted on taking together. "Ezra?" Freya Slater's sharp voice cut through his thoughts. "The investors are waiting for your input on the environmental impact statement." "Right, sorry," he said, setting down his phone. "Where were we?" Later, in Freya's sleek office overlooking the harbor, she closed the door with a decisive click. "What's going on with you? You've never been unfocused during meetings." Ezra hesitated, then decided honesty was best. "I just found out I have a daughter, here in Harbor Cove." Freya's perfectly manicured hand froze midair. "A daughter? With whom?" "Eliza Reed. We were together 8 years ago, before I left town." "The waitress?" Freya's expression shifted from shock to calculation. "This complicates things." "How so?" "The timing, Ezra. We're about to break ground on the biggest project of our careers, and suddenly you're playing daddy to some child you just met." She tapped her pen against her desk. "I'll look into the situation. Make sure everything is legitimate." "There's nothing to look into," Ezra said firmly. "She's my daughter. End of story." But after he left, Freya opened her laptop and began typing Eliza Reed's name into a search bar, her eyes narrowed with determination. A week have passed, then one crisp morning, the elementary school auditorium buzzed with excitement as parents found their seats for the spring play. Ezra arrived early, scanning the rows until he spotted Eliza saving a seat near the front. "Is this okay?" he asked, gesturing to the empty chair beside her. "Of course," Eliza said, shifting her purse. "Lily will be looking for both of us." They sat in awkward silence, acutely aware of the curious glances from other parents. Harbor Cove was a small town, and news traveled fast. "Everyone's staring," Eliza whispered. "Let them," Ezra replied. "We're just 2 parents supporting their daughter." The lights dimmed and children dressed as various sea creatures filed onto the stage. Lily appeared in her starfish costume, her face lighting up when she spotted them. She waved enthusiastically, and they both waved back. "She's been practicing her lines all week," Eliza said. "I know," She made me listen to them during our park visit yesterday." Their shoulders brushed as they leaned forward to watch, and Ezra became intensely aware of Eliza's familiar scent, something floral and clean that instantly transported him back 8 years. He remembered summer nights on the beach, her hair spread across his chest as they watched the stars. When Lily delivered her lines perfectly, Ezra and Eliza exchanged proud glances, their hands accidentally touching as they applauded. Neither pulled away immediately. After the performance, Lily ran to them, still wearing half her costume. "Did you see me? I remembered everything." "You were amazing," Ezra said, lifting her for a hug. "The best starfish in the ocean," Eliza added. "Can we have a special dinner?" Lily asked. "All 3 of us?" They ended up at the harbor's seafood restaurant, Lily chattering excitedly between bites of her fish sticks, while Ezra and Eliza found themselves reminiscing. "Remember that bonfire on Miller's Point?" Eliza asked, smiling over her glass of wine. Ezra laughed. "How could I forget? We danced until sunrise. You said you'd never seen anyone move like I did." "I meant it," he said softly. After dinner, with Lily skipping ahead collecting shells, they walked along the moonlit harbor. The water reflected silver light, and boats gently rocked at their moorings. "This place hasn't changed," Ezra murmured. "But we have," Eliza replied. He stopped walking. "Have we? Sometimes when I'm with you, it feels like no time has passed at all." She looked up at him, her expression vulnerable in the moonlight. "Ezra." He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their faces were inches apart, breath mingling in the cool evening air. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining with familiar ease. Then Lily called out, "Look at this huge shell I found." Eliza stepped back abruptly, reality crashing back. "We can't," she whispered. "It's too complicated." "Mom! Dad! Come see!" Lily's voice rang out across the harbor. Meanwhile, in her hotel suite, Freya scrolled through pages of information about Eliza Reed. Her notepad filled with potential angles. Single mother struggling financially, convenient timing of revealing Ezra's paternity just as his development project began. The property values around Eliza's rented home that would increase significantly if the development proceeded. "Perfect," Freya murmured, constructing her narrative. She picked up her phone and dialed. "I need a comprehensive financial background on Eliza Reed, and find out if she's ever pursued child support claims before." She smiled as she looked at the harbor view from her window. This situation threatened everything they'd worked for, but she'd make sure Ezra saw the truth, that this waitress was nothing but an opportunist trying to cash in on his success and potentially derail their plans for Harbor Cove. The morning sun glinted off the glass walls of Ezra's temporary office as Freya strode in without knocking. Her tailored suit and confident posture contrasted with Ezra's distracted demeanor as he stared at his phone, scrolling through photos of Lily from their day at the beach. "We need to talk," Freya announced, closing the door firmly behind her. Ezra looked up. "About the zoning permits? I thought that was resolved." "About your situation." Freya placed a folder on his desk. "I've been doing some research." "On what?" "On Eliza Reed." Freya's voice carried practiced concern. "Ezra, I'm worried you're being manipulated." His expression hardened. "What are you talking about?" "Don't you find it convenient that this revelation about your daughter came precisely when our development project was announced?" Freya leaned forward. "The timing is suspicious. That scene in the cafe, a child suddenly announcing you're her father in front of everyone, it feels orchestrated." "By a 7-year-old? Ezra's tone was incredulous. "By her mother." Freya tapped the folder. "Eliza's financial situation isn't great. Single mother, waitress salary, rent increasing yearly. Now suddenly the wealthy father appears and—" "Stop." Ezra stood up. "You don't know Eliza." "Neither do you. Not anymore." Freya's voice softened with calculated sympathy. People change in 8 years, Ezra. I'm just asking you to be careful. Though Ezra defended Eliza, doubt flickered in his eyes, exactly what Freya had intended. Across town, Eliza wiped down tables at the cafe, her movements mechanical as she tried to ignore the whispered conversation from the corner booth. Can't blame her, really. If I had a kid and found out the father was loaded. Talk about timing. Right when his company starts buying up waterfront property. The women's laughter felt like needles against Eliza's skin. She dropped her rag and retreated to the kitchen, cheeks burning with humiliation. That afternoon, when Ezra arrived to pick up Lily, the tension was palpable. Lily bounced excitedly, showing him her new drawing, but Eliza's smile was strained. She needs to be back by 7. It's a school night, Eliza said stiffly. I know the schedule, Ezra replied, an edge to his voice. Lily skipped to her room to grab her backpack, leaving them momentarily alone. Something wrong? Ezra asked. The dam broke. People are talking, Eliza hissed, saying I planned this whole thing for your money. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because you're looking at me like you're not sure. Ezra hesitated just long enough. Freya mentioned some concerns. Freya? Eliza's voice rose. Your business partner is investigating me? She was just looking out for what? Your wallet? Eliza's eyes flashed. I didn't want anything from you 8 years ago when you left without a backward glance, and I don't want anything now. You didn't exactly try very hard to find me, Ezra shot back. I called your parents' house 6 times. They said you were pursuing your dreams and couldn't be bothered. They never told me. Stop fighting. Lily's small voice cut through their argument. She stood in the hallway, tears streaming down her face, her backpack clutched against her chest. Please stop. The sight of their daughter's distress immediately transformed them. They exchanged guilty looks before both moved toward Lily. We're not fighting, sweetie, Eliza said, kneeling beside her. We're just having a grown-up disagreement, Ezra added, crouching on Lily's other side. Are you mad because of me? Lily's voice trembled. No, never because of you, Ezra assured her, meeting Eliza's eyes over their daughter's head. Eliza nodded in agreement. Sometimes parents disagree, but we both love you very much. They spent the next few minutes comforting Lily together, their argument temporarily set aside for her sake. Working as a team to soothe their daughter's fears created a bridge between them. Later that evening, after a peaceful dinner at Eliza's place, a compromise they'd reached for Lily's benefit, Ezra volunteered to tuck Lily in while Eliza cleaned up. In Lily's room, decorated with seashells and fairy lights, Ezra sat on the edge of her bed for their now familiar goodnight routine. Story time, Lily asked hopefully. Pick one out, Ezra agreed. Lily hesitated, then reached under her bed and pulled out a worn shoebox. Inside were several books, all with similar themes. My Daddy and Me, When Daddy Comes Home, A Father's Love. These are my special books, Lily explained, not meeting his eyes. I used to pretend you were reading them to me. Ezra's throat tightened as he realized how long his daughter had been imagining a father in her life, how deeply she had yearned for him without even knowing who he was. Can you read this one tonight? Lily asked, offering a book with a father pushing his daughter on a swing. Of course, Ezra managed, his voice rough with emotion. As he read, Freya's insinuations about manipulation faded into insignificance against the evidence of his daughter's innocent longing. Few days, the old blue sedan sputtered once, twice, then died with a pathetic wheeze at the side of the road. Eliza turned the key again, wincing at the grinding sound that followed. Come on, not today, she muttered, glancing at her watch. She had groceries to buy, dry cleaning to pick up, and Lily's doctor appointment in 2 hours. Lily peered up from her book in the back seat. Is the car sick again, Mommy? Just tired, sweetie. Eliza pulled out her phone, calculating how much a tow truck would cost and whether she could afford it before payday. As she scrolled through her contacts, a sleek black SUV pulled up behind them. Ezra stepped out, concern etched on his face as he approached. "Car trouble?" he asked, bending to peer through her window. "Nothing serious," Eliza said automatically, pride making her voice stiffer than intended. "We're fine." "Daddy!" Lily bounced in her seat. "Our car is tired." Ezra smiled at his daughter, then turned back to Eliza. "Let me help. I can drive you wherever you need to go today." "We have errands," Eliza protested weakly. "It would take hours." "I've got time." His simple statement hung between them. 20 minutes later, after arranging for a mechanic to look at her car, Eliza found herself in the passenger seat of Ezra's SUV, reciting their itinerary reluctantly. Their first stop was the discount grocery store Eliza frequented. She felt self-conscious as Ezra pushed the cart, watching her compare prices and choose store brands. "You're good at this," he commented, as she calculated the total in her head. "Practice," she replied, putting back a package of cookies that would push them over budget. She didn't miss how Ezra noticed, nor how he distracted Lily by asking about her favorite foods. At the pharmacy, Lily's prescription copay was higher than expected. Eliza bit her lip, rearranging mental figures. "I can—" Ezra began. "We're fine," Eliza interrupted quietly, pulling out her emergency credit card. After the dry cleaners, Ezra's phone rang. "I need to stop by the office for 15 minutes, he said apologetically. "Do you mind?" His office turned out to be an entire floor of a downtown building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. Lily pressed her nose against the glass while Eliza observed Ezra in his element. He moved confidently through the space, but what struck her most was how he spoke to his employees, with genuine interest and respect, remembering details about their families. "Mr. Blackwood is the best boss," his assistant told Eliza. "He actually listens." By the time they finished Lily's doctor appointment, the afternoon was fading. "I should get you both home," Ezra said, "but I was hoping, would you like to see where I'm staying? I could make dinner." His rented waterfront home was understated but elegant. While Lily explored the rooms with delighted exclamations, Ezra led Eliza to a balcony overlooking the water. "Thank you for today," Eliza said, watching the first stars appear. "You didn't have to do all that." "I wanted to." Ezra moved closer. "I've been thinking about what I missed by leaving, not just with Lily, but with you." The honesty in his voice made her turn to face him. "I never stopped thinking about you, Eliza. That summer wasn't just a fling for me." "Then why did you leave?" The question that had haunted her for years. "Because I was young and stupid. I thought success meant building something big, making my mark." His hand found hers on the railing. "I regret leaving every day." The warmth of his fingers around hers felt achingly familiar. When he leaned closer, she didn't pull away. Their lips met in a tentative kiss that quickly deepened with 8 years of unspoken longing. Outside the property's gate, Freya sat in her car, watching the silhouettes on the balcony with narrowed eyes. She picked up her phone and dialed. "We have a problem," she said tersely. "The timeline is at risk." The morning after their kiss, Eliza floated through her shift at the cafe, stealing glances at her phone whenever it buzzed. Ezra had texted twice already, once to wish her good morning, and again to say he couldn't stop thinking about last night. Her cheeks warmed at the memory of his lips on hers, the way his arms had felt like coming home. "Someone's in a good mood," Martha, the cafe owner, commented as Eliza hummed while refilling salt shakers. Before Eliza could respond, the bell above the door chimed. Freya Slater entered, her tailored navy suit and perfect blonde hair making her look dramatically out of place among the cafe's weathered charm. Her eyes locked on Eliza with laser focus. "Eliza Reed, I need a moment of your time." Freya's smile didn't reach her eyes. "It's about Ezra." They sat at a corner table, where Freya placed a leather portfolio between them. "I'll be direct," Freya said, her manicured finger tapping the portfolio. "Ezra has authorized me to offer you a settlement, a very generous one." Settlement? Eliza's good mood evaporated. "For what?" "For you and Lily to relocate somewhere with better opportunities." Freya slid the portfolio toward her. $3 million. Enough to buy a beautiful home, fund Lily's education through college, and give you both the security you deserve. Eliza's hands trembled as she opened the portfolio to find legal documents and a cashier's check. "Ezra values his freedom and focus on his career," Freya continued smoothly. "He wants to support you both, of course. He's not heartless. But the constant presence of a family would interfere with our development timeline and his lifestyle. This way, everyone wins." The cafe seemed to tilt around Eliza, just hours after their kiss, after his declarations about regret and thinking of her all these years. "This is from Ezra?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "He wanted to spare you both the awkwardness of this conversation." Freya checked her watch. "You have 24 hours to decide, but I suggest accepting." "It's more than fair." After Freya left, Eliza sat motionless, staring at the check with tears blurring her vision. Her phone buzzed with another text from Ezra, asking if she and Lily wanted to have dinner tonight. The contrast between his warm messages and Freya's cold offer made her stomach clench. 2 hours later, Ezra was reviewing blueprints with his team when Eliza burst into the conference room, the portfolio clutched in her hand. "Is this how you really feel?" she demanded, her voice breaking. "You kiss me one night and try to buy me off the next day?" Ezra stared at her in confusion, then at the portfolio she threw onto the table. "What are you talking about?" "Your generous settlement offer," Eliza said bitterly. $3 million to take Lily and disappear from your life." The color drained from Ezra's face as he opened the portfolio. "I never authorized this," he said, scanning the documents. "Freya did this without my knowledge." Just then, Freya entered with 2 investors. She froze upon seeing Eliza. "What have you done?" Ezra demanded, holding up the papers. "What needed to be done," Freya replied coolly. "You've been distracted, making emotional decisions instead of business ones. I was protecting our interests." "By trying to pay off my daughter and her mother?" Ezra's voice rose. "By lying about my wishes?" The investors shifted uncomfortably as Ezra turned to address everyone in the room. "Let me be perfectly clear," he announced. "Eliza and Lily are non-negotiable parts of my life. Any business plan that doesn't accommodate that reality is not a plan I'll be part of." Freya's expression hardened. "Then I'm out," she said, gathering her things. "And so are the Bradshaw investors. Good luck financing your family-friendly vision without us." She stalked out, the investors following after apologetic glances. Ezra didn't watch them go. Instead, he crossed to Eliza, taking her hands in his. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I had no idea she would do this." "Your partnership, the development," Eliza began. "Doesn't matter," Ezra interrupted. "Not compared to you and Lily." He guided her to the windows overlooking the harbor. "Actually, I've been rethinking the whole project. Look." He unrolled a new set of blueprints showing a revised waterfront design that preserved the historic cafe and added community spaces. "This would create more local jobs, sustainable tourism," he explained. "It's less profitable short-term, but better for Harbor Cove long-term." His eyes met hers. "Better for the place where I hope my family will grow up." Few days have passed. Ezra's phone rang early Sunday morning as he, Eliza, and Lily walked along the beach collecting shells. The moment he saw the caller ID, his expression tightened. "Mother," he answered, stepping away from Eliza and Lily. What a surprise. Eliza watched his posture stiffen during the brief conversation. When he returned, his face was drawn. "My parents are here," he said, running a hand through his hair. "In Harbor Cove, at the Ocean View Hotel." "Here? Now?" Eliza asked, her stomach nodding. Apparently the Bradshaws mentioned my situation to them at their country club. His jaw clenched. "They want to meet for dinner tonight. All of us." By evening, Eliza stood before her closet in panic, nothing seeming appropriate for meeting the Blackwood family. She finally chose her one good dress, navy blue with a modest neckline, purchased for a job interview years ago. Lily twirled in her favorite party dress, blissfully unaware of the tension. Will they be my grandma and grandpa? Do they have a big house? Will they give me presents? "Honey, let's just focus on being polite tonight," Eliza said, smoothing Lily's hair with trembling hands. The private dining room at the Ocean View Hotel felt suffocating. Margaret and Richard Blackwood sat ramrod straight in their chairs, scrutinizing Eliza from the moment introductions were made. Margaret's diamond earrings caught the light as she tilted her head, examining Lily with narrowed eyes. "She does have the Blackwood eyes," Margaret conceded after a long silence. "Though I find the timing of this revelation rather convenient, given Ezra's recent financial success." Eliza's cheeks burned. "I didn't know Ezra was back in town until Lily approached him. I never sought him out for money." "Yet here you are," Richard commented dryly, swirling his scotch. Ezra cleared his throat. "Mother, father, I've verified Lily as my daughter, and Eliza tried to contact me years ago." Dinner proceeded with excruciating politeness. Margaret questioned Eliza about her education, career, and family background. Each answer met with a slight tightening of her lips. Lily, initially chatty, grew quieter under the formal atmosphere. Over dessert, Margaret placed her fork down precisely. "We should discuss practical matters. The Blackwood name carries certain responsibilities. We would like to establish a formal custody arrangement." "Custody arrangement?" Eliza echoed. "Yes, summers at our estate, holidays, proper schooling." Margaret smiled thinly. "We have connections at Westfield Academy. They might make an exception despite her unconventional background." "Mother," Ezra warned. "It's merely practical," Margaret continued. "The child deserves the advantages of the Blackwood name, even if her mother's situation is modest." Eliza's hands trembled in her lap. "Lily has been perfectly happy with our modest life. Happy, perhaps, but properly prepared for her future." "I think not," Margaret replied. "One can hardly expect a waitress to understand the social requirements of our family's position." The word waitress fell from Margaret's lips like something distasteful. Eliza stood abruptly, her napkin falling to the floor. "Excuse me," she whispered, walking quickly toward the terrace doors. Outside in the cool evening air, Eliza gripped the stone balustrade, fighting back tears. Moments later, Ezra joined her, his hand warm on her back. "I'm so sorry," he said quietly. "They've always been like this, judging, controlling." "They think I'm after your money," Eliza said, wiping her eyes. "That I'm not good enough for Lily." Ezra turned her to face him. "You are everything Lily needs. Everything I need too." He cupped her face gently. "I don't care what they think. We'll build our own family, our own way." Their moment was interrupted by a waiter hurrying onto the terrace. "Mr. Blackwood, your parents are looking for your daughter, the little girl. She's not in the dining room." Eliza's heart dropped. "Lily? Where's Lily?" They rushed inside to find Margaret standing imperiously by the table. The child became upset and ran out. Honestly, such behavior confirms my concerns about her upbringing. "She heard you," Eliza realized with horror. "She heard what you said about me, about us." Ezra was already heading for the door. "We need to find her. Now." The hotel lobby erupted into frantic activity as Ezra and Eliza rushed down the grand staircase, their eyes scanning every corner. "I'll check the garden," Ezra said, already moving toward the back doors. "I'll try the beach," Eliza replied, her voice tight with fear. She loves collecting shells there. Margaret and Richard Blackwood followed at a distance, their earlier composure fractured by the emergency. Hotel staff joined the search, fanning out across the property with flashlights cutting through the growing darkness. Eliza ran barefoot across the hotel lawn, her dress shoes abandoned for speed. The evening air carried a chill as she reached the beach access path, calling Lily's name with increasing desperation. Each unanswered call sent another spike of panic through her chest. Ezra emerged from the garden, joining her at the beach entrance. "Nothing there. Any sign of her?" Eliza shook her head, trying to think through her fear. "Wait, the pier. She was talking about a special shell she saw there this morning. Said it was pink and white swirled like ice cream." "The old pier?" "It's been condemned," Ezra said, his face paling. They sprinted across the sand, their feet sinking with each step. The ancient wooden structure stretched into the darkening water, sections cordoned off with weathered warning signs. In the distance, a small figure in a party dress stood near the edge, bent over examining something. "Lily!" they shouted in unison. The little girl looked up, waving excitedly. "Mommy! Daddy! I found it!" "Don't move, sweetheart," Eliza called, her voice straining to stay calm. The rotting wooden planks creaked ominously under Lily's feet. Parts of the railing had already collapsed into the water below, and the tide was rising, waves slapping against the deteriorating pilings. Ezra touched Eliza's arm. "I'll go. I'm heavier. You follow behind me, spreading our weight." "We go together," Eliza said firmly. "She's our daughter." They stepped carefully onto the pier, testing each board before committing their weight. The structure groaned beneath them, the sound of splintering wood punctuating each cautious step. "Lily, honey, stay very still," Eliza called, forcing a smile. "We're coming to you." "But look." Lily held up a shell, her face bright with accomplishment. "It's perfect. It looks just like the ice cream we had when you and Daddy first took me out together." As she moved, the section beneath her feet shifted. A terrible cracking sound echoed across the water. Ezra and Eliza lunged forward simultaneously, abandoning caution. They moved as one unit, instinctively coordinating their movements without a word. When a board gave way under Eliza's foot, Ezra's hand was there, steadying her without breaking stride. 20 feet from Lily, a section of the pier collapsed into the water with a thunderous splash. The vibration traveled through the remaining structure, causing the boards beneath Lily to tilt dangerously. "Daddy!" she screamed, dropping the shell as both hands clutched at a listing railing. "Jump to me, Lily!" Ezra called, stretching his body across the newly formed gap, creating a human bridge while Eliza anchored his legs. "I'll catch you." Lily hesitated, her eyes wide with terror as the section beneath her continued to splinter. "Trust Daddy," Eliza urged, her knuckles white as she gripped Ezra's legs. "He won't let you fall. We won't let you fall." With a small whimper, Lily launched herself forward, just as the pier section gave way completely. Ezra's arms encircled her midair, clutching her tightly against his chest as the wooden platform crashed into the water below. The force of Lily's jump pushed Ezra backward. Eliza pulled with all her strength, helping them scramble to more stable footing. The three clung together, trembling, as they carefully made their way back to shore. On the beach, Margaret and Richard stood with the gathered hotel staff and onlookers, their faces ashen. For once, Margaret Blackwood was speechless as she watched her son carry his daughter to safety, his arm firmly around Eliza's waist, supporting her shaking form. "She could have died," Margaret whispered as they approached. Ezra's face was grim as he passed Lily to Eliza's arms. "We're taking her home. Now." At Eliza's cottage, they tucked an exhausted Lily into bed. The little girl clutched her mother's hand, reluctant to let go even as her eyelids drooped. "I'm sorry I scared everyone," she murmured. "I just wanted to find the special shell to show Grandma and Grandpa, so they'd know we were a real family." Eliza's heart broke at the words. She kissed Lily's forehead. "We are a real family, sweetheart. No shell needed to prove that." When Lily finally drifted to sleep, Ezra and Eliza joined his parents in the small living room. Margaret sat perched on the edge of the worn sofa, looking uncomfortably out of place among Eliza's modest furnishings. "This is precisely why proper supervision is essential," she began, but Ezra cut her off. "Enough." His voice was quiet but unyielding. "My daughter nearly died tonight because she felt she needed to prove something to you, because you made her mother feel inadequate." "Ezra, we only want what's best," Richard started. You want what fits your image of what's best." Ezra stood tall, his posture reminiscent of his father's, but with a warmth the elder Blackwood lacked. "Eliza has raised an incredible daughter, kind, brave, creative. She's done it on her own, without advantages or help." Margaret's lips thinned. "You can't possibly intend to raise your daughter in this." Her hand gestured dismissively at the cottage. "This is a home," Ezra said firmly. "A real home, filled with love and laughter. Something our mansion never was." He moved to stand beside Eliza, taking her hand. "I love Eliza. I love our daughter. If you want to be part of our lives, and I hope you do, you will respect them both. No more comments about Eliza's job or background. No more suggestions about shipping Lily off to boarding school. This is non-negotiable." Richard Blackwood studied his son's face. "You would choose them over your family? Over everything we've built?" "I'm not choosing them over you," Ezra replied. "I'm asking you to expand your definition of family to include them. But yes, if forced to choose, they are my priority now." Margaret stood, smoothing her designer dress. "You've always been stubborn, Ezra, just like your father." A hint of reluctant respect crossed her face as she looked at Eliza. "Your daughter is certainly a Blackwood. That much was clear tonight." "She's a Reed Blackwood," Eliza corrected gently, "and she deserves to know all her family." The older woman nodded stiffly. "We'll return to the hotel now. Perhaps breakfast tomorrow, before we leave for Boston." After his parents departed, Ezra pulled Eliza into his arms. "I'm so sorry about all of this. You were amazing out there," she whispered against his chest. "On the pier, with your parents." "We were amazing," he corrected. "The way we moved together to reach her. I've never felt so connected to another person." Eliza looked up at him, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "I was so scared." "Me too," he admitted. "But I realized something tonight. There's nothing I wouldn't risk for you and Lily. Nothing." In the days following Lily's accident, a profound shift settled over Ezra. The image of his daughter perched on that crumbling pier haunted his dreams, but it also crystallized something within him. Life's priorities had never been clearer. In his temporary office overlooking the harbor, Ezra spread out the original development plans across his desk. The sleek modern hotel complex would have transformed the waterfront and nearly doubled his company's portfolio. But as he traced his finger along the blueprints, he saw only what would be lost: the weathered charm of the boardwalk shops, the historic lighthouse keeper's cottage, and most importantly, the seaside cafe where he'd reconnected with his daughter. "Start over," he told his design team the next morning. "We're preserving the soul of Harbor Cove, not replacing it." His new vision emerged over long nights and early mornings. A thoughtful renovation of existing structures, sustainable expansion that created jobs without overwhelming the town's character. And at the center of it all, the cafe. Restored but unchanged in its essence, where locals and visitors alike could gather for generations to come. When his lead architect questioned the profit margins, Ezra simply smiled. Some investments pay dividends you can't calculate on a spreadsheet. While his days were consumed with reimagining the development, his evenings were devoted to a more personal project. In the small workshop of Marina Cortez, Harbor Cove's most skilled silversmith, Ezra carefully extracted a delicate spiral shell from his pocket. "This is the one she was looking for," he explained, placing it reverently on Marina's workbench. "I found it the next morning, right where the pier collapsed." Marina examined the perfect shell with an artist's appreciation. "And you want it made into a necklace," Ezra said. "Something that preserves its natural beauty, but makes it unbreakable. Something that tells a story." For the next week, he visited Marina's shop each evening after Lily was asleep, watching as the artisan crafted a setting of intricate silver waves that cradled the shell without overwhelming it. When the piece was finally complete, Ezra held it to the light, watching as it caught the glow of the setting sun. "It's perfect," he whispered, "just like them." Across town in their cottage, Eliza folded laundry with mechanical precision, her thoughts far from the task at hand. Lily was finally sleeping through the night again after several days of nightmares about falling. The accident had shaken them all, but something else was keeping Eliza awake now. She loved Ezra. The realization wasn't new, but her resistance to it was crumbling. Over these weeks, she'd watched him transform from the ambitious young man who'd left her years ago into someone who put family above everything, even standing up to his intimidating parents. Yet something held her back from fully embracing this second chance. Fear, she realized. Fear that happiness could be snatched away again. "Mommy?" Lily's voice startled her from her thoughts. The little girl stood in the doorway in her favorite star-patterned pajamas, hair tousled from sleep. "What are you doing up, sweetheart?" Eliza asked, setting aside the laundry. Lily climbed onto the couch beside her. "I was thinking about something important." "Oh," Eliza smoothed her daughter's hair. "What's that? Are we going to be a forever family? You, me, and Daddy?" Lily's blue eyes, so like Ezra's, looked up with innocent hope. The question caught Eliza off guard. "What makes you ask that?" Lily shrugged, picking at a loose thread on the sofa. "Daddy looks at you the way Prince Eric looks at Ariel, and you smile different when he's here." She paused. "I just want to know if it's real, if it's forever." Eliza pulled her daughter close, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity through a child's eyes. They all wanted the same thing. Lily, Ezra, and yes, herself too. A family, a future. Why was she holding back from something they all desired? "I hope so, sweetheart," she whispered, making a decision in that moment. "I really hope so." The following evening, Ezra arrived with a picnic basket and a mysterious canvas bag. "Sunset picnic on the beach," he suggested, his eyes twinkling with barely contained excitement. Lily bounced with enthusiasm while Eliza eyed him suspiciously. "What are you up to, Ezra Blackwood? Can a man simply enjoy a beach picnic with his two favorite people?" he asked innocently. They settled on a blanket near the water's edge, the setting sun painting the sky in spectacular shades of pink and gold. After they'd eaten, Ezra pulled out a rolled set of blueprints from his canvas bag. "I have something to show you both," he said, spreading the plans across the blanket. "The new vision for Harbor Cove." Eliza leaned forward, her breath catching as she recognized familiar structures preserved in the designs. "You're keeping the old buildings?" Ezra nodded, pointing out details. "Restoration instead of replacement. The lighthouse becomes a maritime museum. The boardwalk shops get modern infrastructure but keep their historic facades." His finger traced to a familiar structure. "And the cafe stays exactly as it is, the heart of the harbor." "My cafe?" Eliza whispered. "Where our story began again," Ezra confirmed. "Where our daughter found her father. Some places are too important to change. Lily studied the drawings with serious concentration. It's pretty, and you won't knock down Miss Patty's taffy shop. Not a chance, Ezra promised. Harbor Cove deserves development that honors what makes it special. Eliza touched the blueprints gently. This is incredible, Ezra. The town will love it. I hope so, he said, rolling up the plans. But there's something else I want to show you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily, remember how you went looking for that special shell? The little girl nodded solemnly. Well, Ezra continued, I found it the next day. He opened the box toward Eliza, revealing the delicate shell nestled in its silver setting, hanging from a fine chain. Something precious that was almost lost but wasn't. Eliza's hand flew to her mouth as tears filled her eyes. Ezra took the necklace from its box. This shell survived the collapse, just like our family did. It's beautiful, but fragile, so I had it set in silver to protect it, while still letting its natural beauty shine through. He moved to kneel before Eliza, the necklace in one hand, while his other reached for hers. Eliza Reed, 8 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life by leaving you. Then, by some miracle, I got a second chance when our daughter brought us back together. His voice cracked with emotion. I don't want to waste another day. Will you marry me and make our family complete? Lily edged closer, her eyes wide and hopeful as she watched her mother's face. Tears spilled down Eliza's cheeks as she nodded. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Ezra. As he fastened the necklace around her neck, Lily threw her arms around both of them. We're going to be a forever family, she exclaimed. Ezra gathered them both in his arms, the three of them bathed in the golden light of sunset. Forever, he promised, and always. The weeks leading up to the wedding transformed Harbor Cove into a flurry of activity. Eliza found herself in the unfamiliar position of being the center of attention as the small coastal town embraced the romance that had blossomed before their eyes. The cafe regulars offered everything from homemade decorations to catering assistance, turning what could have been a simple ceremony into a community celebration. 3 days before the wedding, Ezra's parents' sleek black car pulled into town again. This time, however, they came bearing peace offerings, his mother clutching a vintage lace veil that had been in the Blackwood family for generations. We'd like to speak with both of you, Margaret Blackwood said stiffly when Ezra opened the door to Eliza's cottage. The older woman's eyes softened when they landed on Lily, who was arranging seashells on the coffee table for wedding decorations. Eliza tensed as they settled in the living room, but Ezra took her hand firmly in his. We were wrong, Harold Blackwood stated plainly, his usual authoritative tone subdued. About you, Eliza. About this situation. Margaret nodded, carefully unfolding the delicate veil in her lap. When we saw Ezra on that pier, risking everything for your daughter, for his daughter, we realized how deeply he loves you both. She looked up, her eyes shining with unshed tears. We've never seen him so complete. It took nearly losing Lily to see what truly matters, Harold added. Family isn't about bloodlines or social standing. It's about love. Ezra squeezed Eliza's hand, clearly moved by his parents' unexpected change of heart. This veil has been worn by Blackwood brides for 4 generations, Margaret said, offering the delicate lace to Eliza. We would be honored if you would consider wearing it. Eliza gently took the heirloom, overwhelmed by the gesture's significance. Thank you, she whispered, recognizing this as the olive branch it was meant to be. Lily, who had been uncharacteristically quiet during the exchange, approached Margaret with a solemn expression. Does this mean you're going to be my real grandma now? The question broke through the last of Margaret's reserve. She opened her arms, and Lily stepped into them without hesitation. Yes, sweetheart, if you'll have us. The morning of the wedding dawned with perfect clarity as if Harbor Cove itself approved of the union. White chairs lined the stretch of beach where Ezra and Eliza had first fallen in love 8 summers ago. A simple driftwood arch stood at the end of the aisle, adorned with local wildflowers and seagrass. Inside Eliza's cottage, Margaret helped secure the family veil, while Eliza's friend Jenny from the cafe adjusted the simple white dress that flowed like sea foam around her ankles. "You look beautiful, Mommy," Lily declared from the doorway, resplendent in her pale blue dress with a crown of tiny white flowers in her hair. She clutched a small pillow holding 2 rings and a folded piece of paper. "So do you, my brave girl," Eliza replied, kneeling carefully to hug her daughter. "Are you ready for your big role today?" Lily nodded solemnly. "I practiced my poem lots of times. Daddy helped me with the hard words." The walk to the beach felt like a dream to Eliza. Neighbors waved from porches. Tourists smiled at the bride passing by. And ahead, she could see the gathering of loved ones waiting on the sand. At the end of the makeshift aisle stood Ezra, his eyes never leaving her as she approached on Harold Blackwood's arm. Another unexpected but welcome reconciliation. When she reached him, Ezra took both her hands in his eyes shining with emotion. "You're the most beautiful sight I've ever seen," he whispered. The local justice of the peace welcomed everyone before turning to Lily. "I believe someone has a special reading for us today." Lily stepped forward importantly, unfolding her paper with careful fingers. Her clear voice carried across the hushed gathering. "My mom and dad were like 2 stars that shined in different skies, until I found my daddy's picture and made a plan so wise. I told him in the cafe, 'You are my dad,' I said." His eyes got big. Mom spilled the tea. Her cheeks turned really red. "But now we're all together. A family full and true. Because I was brave enough to say the words they needed to." There wasn't a dry eye on the beach as Lily finished her poem and proudly presented the rings. When it came time for vows, Ezra spoke first, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "Eliza, 8 years ago, I walked away from the greatest treasure I would ever find. I thought success meant tall buildings and important meetings. But our daughter taught me that real success is measured in moments of love." He glanced at Lily with a smile. "When she announced to the entire cafe that I was her father, she gave me a gift I never knew I needed: a family. Today, I promise to cherish that gift every day of my life. I promise to be the man you both deserve, present, devoted, and completely in love with the life we're building together." Eliza brushed away tears as she began her own vows. "Ezra, I spent years believing our story had ended. I built walls to protect my heart and Lily's. But our determined daughter had other plans." She smiled at Lily. "Her courage healed wounds I thought would never close and opened my heart to love again. Today, I promise to trust in that love, to believe in second chances, and to walk beside you as we write the rest of our story together." As they exchanged rings, the setting sun cast them in a golden glow, as if nature itself was blessing their union. The celebration afterward moved to the cafe, newly renovated but still maintaining its charming character. A small brass plaque near the entrance now read, "Reed Blackwood Family Cafe," marking Eliza's partnership in the business. Under strings of twinkling lights, Ezra pulled his bride close for their first dance on the deck overlooking the harbor. "Did you ever imagine we'd end up here?" he asked, spinning her gently. Eliza shook her head. "Never, but I wouldn't change a single step of the journey." From her special seat of honor, Lily watched her parents dance with satisfaction glowing in her eyes. When Ezra extended his hand to include her in their dance, she stepped into their embrace without hesitation, completing the circle of their family at last. If you enjoyed this story, I've found another special one just for you. If you enjoyed this story, I've found another special one just for you. Our community can't stop talking about how heartwarming and moving it is. Click on the video in front of you to experience this beautiful story before it's gone.